So there are 1, 2, 3, 5 main sections on the test. There's 20 questions altogether. All right, so the first few are solving equations. So let's go back and review our solving equations. And there are a couple fractions, so I'll try to do kind of the harder ones out of here so that you can, if you can do the harder ones, you can do the easier ones. What happens if I have something that looks like this? But what do I do first? What's the first step? How do you know what you add 4? What order are you going in? How do you know what stab math? Exactly. All right, so I heard you add the 4, and you're absolutely right. So you get 1/3 x equals 10. So now the question becomes, what do you do when you're multiplying by a fraction in front? Times it by the reciprocal. Good job. And you can put 3 over 1 if you want, or if you just want to put 3. So x equals 30. If I wanted to check that, what could I do? Plug it back in. Plug it back in and see if it works. Absolutely. Questions about that one? We okay on that? Remember, all these will be just linear equations. Some of them will be a little harder than others. Let's do one more. What do you do? Combine the x's. I need the x's together on the same side. Everything else on the other side. This one's a little bit harder, though, because one of my x's is a fraction. And you will have one of these on your test, too. So, which one should I move? Why the 3 over 2? It's smaller, right? 3 over 2 is 1.5. That's a little smaller. It's not wrong if you move the 2x. So here's where you'll want to use your calculator, okay? 2 minus 3 over 2. You okay? You look like you don't feel good. You don't feel good? You got a fever? You sure? Okay. You need to get up and go, get up and go. It's hot in here too, that probably doesn't help. All right, so 2 minus 3 over 2. 1/2. All right, so I got -2 equals 1/2 x minus 5. Now what? Plus 5. Are we going too fast? Y'all good? You messed up? Sure? Okay. So I get on the first side there positive 3. So instead of dividing by 1/2, I'm going to multiply by 2. Is that the same thing we got for the first one? No, 30. You could divide it, especially if you have a calculator that you can divide, that's fine. It just gets kind of messy. Sometimes it's easier to multiply by the reciprocal, but you don't have to. No, you'll get the same answer. If you do 3 divided by 1/2, you'll get 6. Yes, sir.
So anytime it's a fraction, once you break it all down, you gotta take that fraction and flip it.
Yeah, when it's being multiplied, yes. So see, this is 1/2 times x. Yeah. So I flipped it over and multiplied, yes. Now, if you're just adding or subtracting, Bryce, don't do that. Like here, I didn't flip anything because I'm just subtracting. Yeah. So when you're multiplying, but yeah. Other questions about that one? Let's see. So you'll have 6 of those. And then you'll have 6 graphing. So let's talk about graphing for just a minute. Yeah. Here. Okay. And then here. It's only when you're multiplying. So when you're trying to get rid of it, that's when you flip it. If you're multiplying or dividing, you do. If you're adding or subtracting, you don't. So see here, I multiplied by 2 over 1 instead of 1/2. Does that make sense? But do it on, if you use your calculator and do 3 divided by 1/2, you should still get 6. Did you? Okay. All right. Look. It's the same thing. You get the same thing. Just whichever way you understand it better. It's fine. All right. 3 ways you'll have to graph lines. Slope-intercept form. So maybe it looks like this. What do you do first? Plot your y-intercept. 1, 2, 3. That's right. Now we apply the slope, and because it's negative, that means I'm going down and right. So down 2, 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3. All right, so your slope is rise over run. If it's negative, you go down and right. If it's positive, you go up and right. So you start here, and then you go down 2, 1, 2, and right 3, 1, 2, 3. No? Want to do another one? Okay, well, let's look at another one. What's my y-intercept on this one? -1. So that means I go to -1 on my y-axis. This time the slope is positive. So if I've got a positive 3 slope, what do I do? Up 3 over 1. Because this is the same thing as this. Are you following me, Bryce?
So you just adding stuff to this equation out of nowhere.
What you mean?
You just throwing me off.
Where am I throwing you off?
You just add a random stuff.
What do I add?
You added 1.
The 1, well remember any whole number can be put over 1. So if it's a whole number and it's not a fraction, it's always rise and run 1. Up that many over 1. You sure you okay? You didn't got your nerves? Okay. You don't look like you feel good at all. You want some water? You sure? I got a bottle of water over there on my desk. Okay. All right. Can you graph and slope intercept form? Yeah? Okay. The other form is standard form. This is where we did cover up and we plotted the intercepts. So if it's this, you cover up the y part and set 2x equal to 6. So if 2x equals 6, slow down you said? Oh, I thought you said slow down. Okay. Yes. If 2x equals 6, then x equals 3. So that's where you put a point on x. 1, 2, 3. Sure? Okay. For the other part, I'm going to cover up the x, set this equal. So 3y equals 6. Divide by 3. And you're right, it's 2. So the 2 goes on the y-axis. I got 2 points. I can connect. That's it. Okay? Then you also have vertical and horizontal lines. And we didn't go over this a lot, so I want to touch on it real quick. If I asked you to graph y equals 3, what kind of line is that? Horizontal or vertical? It's horizontal. Because where is y always 3? If you plug 1 in for x, y is going to be 3. If you plug 2 in for x, y is going to be... y equals is always a horizontal line. Which means that x equals, and I'll show you how I remember it. I remember x looks like an arrow up and an arrow down, so it's an up and down line. So x equals, let's say x equals 1 would be a vertical line at 1. So you really just have to remember y equals is horizontal, x equals is vertical. Correct. Yep, so it's opposite what you think. How about if I asked you to find the x and y intercepts of this? I didn't ask you to graph it, I just asked you to find the intercepts. What do you do? So, okay, you could do that. What else could you do since it's already in this form? Cover up. Somebody said it. Cover up. You could cover up. Cover up gives you intercepts. So you could say x equals 0 to y equals 10. There's one intercept. And there's the other. Okay, I'm doing ones exactly like on your test as we go. Okay, so you'll have one in this form and ask to find the intercepts, and that's what you do. Do what? Oh, x is 10, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. So what you're doing is you're plugging to find the x-intercept, you're plugging in 0 for y, and to find the y-intercept, you're plugging 0 for x. It's a little bit harder. Y'all got that? Okay. If you start out in slope-intercept form, the y-intercept's easy, right? What's the y-intercept? 2. How could you find the x-intercept, though? That's the slope. But what are you doing? You make y 0. When y is 0, that gives you the x-intercept. When x is 0, that gives you the y-intercept. So you could just say 0 equals. Now how do you solve for x? Move the 2. And then what? Somebody said a divide by -2. By -3. I cannot hardly see out of my contact. Take them out. Yes or no? Finding intercepts. Intercepts in standard form, intercepts in slope-intercept form. Then you will also have a section where I will ask you, I will give you, oh, I'm sorry, y'all still writing. I will define some functions. Maybe I say f of x is equal to 2x minus 5 g of x is negative 1/2 x plus 1. And then I ask you to find g of negative 6. What do you do? Go to this equation and plug in negative 6 for x. Right? Some of you look so bored because we've done this and it was all a review anyway. Negative 1/2 times negative 6 is what? 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. If I asked you to draw an example of something that is or is not a function, we talked about this Friday a little bit. But what if I want like a graph, a picture of a graph? Remember I drew you this one, and I drew you this one, and I said one's a function and one's not? Which one is a function? Why? Vertical line test. That's exactly what I want you to say. This one passes the vertical line test. What about this one?
That one does not. The lines meet up.
It hits a vertical line more than one time. It fails the vertical line test. Does that make sense? Fails, passes. Function, not a function. Y'all with me? Okay. And then you have your word problems just like we did on Friday. Oh. These are easy though. I'm gonna let you try on those, and I'm gonna give you an answer key, and I'll help you if you need it.